Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. I'm still just kind of getting fired up here and stuff, but good evening. I'm glad you guys are in the chat already. Thank you so much for that. I'm glad you guys are showing up on time for these things, because to start out real slow, nobody's there to talk to, it's a little awkward for me. So thank you for being here right at the beginning, guys. Appreciate it. Jingo, good evening. Mike Bodine. It's good to see you in the chat, my friend. It's good to see you. Yeah, it is time for Randall Rydes Fishin. The whole other side of me that we don't talk too much about. But I am going to talk a little bit about bikes tonight, because it's going to alter my stream schedule. So I might as well talk about it right now, right at the beginning. It's not part of the stream. We're still waiting for people to get caught up here and find the live stream. So there is a reason for me to be on the highway here in 2 weeks. So I'm going to be heading south down to Florida. What that means as far as the live streams, the live streams here for the fishing thing, is next week, next Tuesday, will be my final stream. So next Tuesday, final stream. And then I might do one more just, the Tuesday before fishing and grilling. But that one's still up in the air. I'll make sure you guys know about that if I do it. But, yeah, so next Tuesday, I'm going to cut it out. The reason for that is I think I'm going to be rolling out like Wednesday. And I'm going to be heading south to Florida. So hopefully I get to connect with my old pal Mike Bodine while I'm down there. Hopefully. Daryl, good evening. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping in, man. Doug, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for coming along for this little live stream journey we're on. Hydrocoat, yeah, York. It's warm spells got you all giddy. Well, hopefully it got you out on the water a little bit. I don't know that it was, I'm going to do a forecast thing in a minute about how the little warm-up we had here, kind of like this last week or so, how it affected the bite and such. But it doesn't matter. As long as you got on the water and you had a good time, it's a way to break in the boat and all your systems, get all your electronics up and going, fine-tune things, get them ready for the spring. So every day you can get out right now to get that edge, if you will, so you can hit the ground running whenever it's time. Bird, good evening. Good evening. And Eric, good evening. Eric, my buddy, and I were talking about that bacon as being some of the best bacon we've ever had, man. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I think my roommate want to put in an order with you. It was incredible. It really was. It didn't last too long, but it was incredible while it was here. You'll be in Daytona? All right. Very good. So, Mike, I'm going to be in a little bit inland. I have it's called the Panhead Party. I make it every year. Just a bunch of old bikes. So it corresponds with Daytona Bike Week, so it's possible we'll be in different directions. But I am looking at Burning Bike, so I'm going to try and make Burning Bike. And you guys who aren't riding down south, a lot of this stuff, this has nothing to do with fishing. But Mike, I think I'm going to try and make Burning Bike, because, the whole Badgers crew is going to make it there. So, Bruce, good evening. And Hal, always good to see you in the chat, my friend. Always good to see you. I think we're going to talk a little bit too, Hal. I might send you a message. It's about camping. So I think I want to connect with you for a campfire. But we're going to talk about that. I'm going to send you a message. If I forget, send me a text. I want to talk about catching you at a campfire when you're at camp. And Jingo says he was out yesterday. It was 60 degrees and no fish. Maybe next time. Well, Jingo, you're jumping the gun a little bit. I'm going to talk about that. And I think there's a reason. And that's been the trend. But I'm going to get into it in a minute. So, Buck, hello. And Mike Bodine, you said you will be at Burnin' Bike. Cheers, my friend. See you in a few days. Wyatt, welcome back. Welcome back. All right, guys, we gave everybody a couple minutes to kind of get caught up here and such, so let me get right into it. If you missed it, next Tuesday is going to be the last live fishing stream. Reason for that is I got pulled away. I got to drive to Florida, so I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks. I think, 2 weeks, we'll say, something like that. And then I'll be back for the Tuesday just before Fishin' and Grillin'. So I should have one more live stream, but it's going to be off schedule and stuff. I'll just announce it so that you know it's coming and such. But this next Tuesday coming up will be the last in this block. And I think we had a good run. I think it's been good. But I think I'm going to do this like each winter over this little slow period if we have. It gives us something to kind of keep plugged into one another. But nonetheless, let's get this stream started. I want to talk about this weather we just had. You guys obviously, you know that it warmed up and such. We had 63 degrees today here. We're calling for 63 degrees tomorrow, but it was similar to that. I got out on the Harley yesterday and rode. I didn't ride today because of the rain and stuff, but yesterday I got a nice ride in. That seems like a good thing. Like all the warm up and such, it seems like spring is coming and all that stuff. I know a lot of people got on the water, but I think that it was a false spring, if you will. And I think a lot of folks who got out on the water because the air temperature felt good, they were humbled on the water. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But the week coming up, we have a little bit of a low pressure kind of moving in and out. Right now, I think the pressure is dropping, and that's why we're getting this rain and such. It might clear up a little bit here later into the week, but as of right now, we've got, a little bit of rain showers right now. So for the next day or two anyways, we're going to be dealing with a little bit of wet, and then coming through the weekend, probably kind of hit or miss with the rain and such. But it's all par for the course. It's all par for the course. We're just leading up to spring, and you have to expect spring weather is going to be like this. You know, it's going to have this. It's Pennsylvania, man. You got to just roll with it for a little bit here. No, I'm not going to make Forgotten Angels, Mike. But I will be just north of there, just about 60 miles north of them. But so that's just the weather forecast. You guys are probably pretty familiar with that. Now, I've purposely not looked at like as far as like a my prediction for when I'm going to suggest to you guys when to go out, what days to target for this week coming up. I purposely didn't look at that over the weekend because I want to do that with you right now in this live stream, real time. What do I do before I hit the water, deciding on which days are best to target, to schedule my charters for? And I try to do that as best I can just to increase the potential and the chance for our charters and such. So I'm going to let you kind of see what my thought process is tonight on this stream. If that's something you're pretty keen on, you're pretty interested in, at least you can glean a little bit from it. Hang tight, because I'm going to go through that in great detail with you tonight. It's not going to take long, but it is going to be in great detail. But before I jump into that, I want to remind everybody we have Fishin' and Grillin' coming up, and it is March 28th to the 31st. Now, there's a little bit of discussion going on in here, but if you guys would do me the favor and just click on the going, or click on the interested in going button there, so we get an idea of how many folks are trying to make it out for it. But that's coming up really fast, so I'm pretty excited about it. Fishin' and Grillin' is just a spin-off of Fishin' and Chillin'. So if you missed Fishing and Chilling, it's no big deal. This is the second part of it. And it's what I call, it's the unofficial start to the spring bite. I think it's just a little bit early for a lot, but certainly you can go out and start being successful, especially on a mild winter like we've been having this year. I'm anticipating fishing and grilling to be something special this year. So try to make plans to be there. Also, I should mention with fishing and grilling, you can do the ride-along ticket. So if you want to come out with me, if you don't have the boat or something, because we're staying at Nancy's Boat to Shore, so you have to have a boat to get out there. You cannot walk out. You can't drive out. So we're camping for a couple days there, and we're going fishing. If you don't have the ability to do that or can't commit to that block of time, I'm doing this ride-along ticket here, this fishing and grilling ride-along ticket. And what that is whatever I get into, you can be a part of it. So whether it's catching bait or it's searching, but it's all about fishing. So it's all centered on fishing, but it's just a ride-along ticket, and I get you on the boat with a charter. It is hands down the best bargain on the lake to get out with a charter. So by all means, hit me up if you guys want to do that. And I don't know if you guys saw behind me, on the wall behind me, I do have more jigging lures made up. I spent a little time in the shop, and I got them done. So you can see them hanging on the wall there behind me. Groovy. So I did want to talk about the April 28th event as well. I think we have a pretty good schedule, not schedule really. We have a pretty good idea of what's going to go down on the 28th of April. Still struggling for a name on that. We'll keep working on it. I want to talk to Zane Weaver because it's at his property. That's Rough and Ready Campground. And if you guys aren't familiar with Zane yet, you really do want to get familiar with him. He's got the best bait shop that I know of on the lake. He's open 24/7, 24 hours a day. So you just roll in, you pull into his bait shop, beep, beep, and he'll come out and get you your bait. That's by far the best customer service you're going to find for bait on the lake, and he's well stocked, and he's just a great guy. Well, I approached him about doing a veterans kind of gathering, a get-together, a little barbecue for all the vets, and he said, absolutely, 100%, let's do it right here. So we're going to do it at Zane's. He's got the campground and the facilities to do that, and plus he's plugged into the fishing community already. So if you are a vet, I want to encourage you to come out at lunchtime to Zane's Rough and Ready Campground. I'm going to have more on that announcement as I iron it out. I'm going to get more details for you, and I'll do an events listing. But go ahead and pencil it in on the calendar now. April 28th at noon. We're going to be at Zane's Rough and Ready Campground, and we're going to have a veterans event. So you're not a veteran, you want to come out and support the veterans, it's all good. You can show up. Bring a vet with you if you can, though. The idea here is we're going to have a bunch of barbecue, and we're going to send some guys home with some barbecue and stuff, but we're just going to have some like-minded veteran folks kind of gathered up and just talking. I'm a vet, too, so I'll talk with everybody, and if for what it's worth, I'm going to be there. I'm going to do a little talk and take some pictures or something. But for what it's worth, if that means something, by all means, show up. So that's April 28th at noon, and that's at Zane's Rough and Ready Campground. So I don't want to skip over that tonight. I want to make sure you guys knew. All right, good. Let me take a breather just for a second and catch up with y'all. Welcome to the chat. If you guys haven't done the thumbs up, and do check, see if you're still subbed. I say still subbed because a lot of people have been dropping off. I don't know if it's something YouTube did that adjusted an algorithm. I don't know what it is. But the bell, too. Make sure you ring it so you don't miss these videos, these announcements for the live streams and stuff. So I appreciate you guys supporting me here on YouTube while I'm doing this. Jingo, you're asking, so you think it will be a good month or so until good bites? Now, that's not necessarily true. No. What I'm saying is I think that whenever you're looking at the spring bite, you see that everything gets amped up. When you're talking the spring bite, it's pretty special. So it's especially amped up. So you're much more likely to connect, and especially if we're talking about striper, and I know that's a hot fish to chase. That's the number one target fish at Raystown Lake is the striped bass. So that's really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about big striped bass, early spring fishing. That's really what I'm speaking of whenever I say the spring bite is going to get hot. If you're a bass fisherman, you know you can pick days here and there and still do really good before that. But when that happens here at the end of March, I think what you're going to see is an early spring bite, and you're going to be able to go out and do really well chasing whatever species it is you're interested in chasing. I think they're just going to be amped up right around that time. This year, I just think it's a sweet spot. I think we're hitting it really solid right with fishing and grilling. So that's kind of what I mean. I think it's going to be a good bite, hit and miss up to that. And then after that, I think it's going to be like gangbusters. I think we're going to hit it pretty hard. Jingo, you go after him and you get him. You're the fisherman. Just work that jig the way it's supposed to be worked, and it'll work for you. Wyatt, why is walleye a big keep to yourself at the lake? It's not. The people who are fishing, we talk about it. It's just walleye is a frustrating species to target at Raystown Lake. It is a very healthy walleye fishery, but to target walleye at Raystown is very it's just difficult. It's challenging. If you're going to walleye fish, stick to the basics and really work the basics. You're up against a little bit of the problem with Raystown Lake is the timber, right? There's timber everywhere, and walleye love timber. So you cannot troll for walleye through the timber. Your lure's not going to go through trees down there, but that's where they're at. So you're talking about jigging techniques or cast retrieve techniques. And in order to do that, you're going to be burning a lot of gas, doing a lot of searching, or you're going to target the walleye during their peak feeding time and catch them whenever they're pushing up into the shallows. Usually what that's going to be, Wyatt, is late at night. Most people aren't willing to hit the water at 10 p.m. And Jingo, when you go out with that jig and lure, just know that it's going to be hit or miss, just like all fish species are. If you go out with my jig and lure and it's not getting the job done, to say you're jigging for an hour and you know you're on fish, you have to know you're on fish, and then you're jigging on them, and you're not getting responses from them, they're not chasing it, they're not swiping it, you're not catching and stuff, it might just be the wrong lure for the fish for that day. Now, I wish that it was a it was a foolproof lure, but there's no lure that exists like that. So when should you go? Whenever they want you to. You present whatever you can to them, and what they want, they'll take. And I wish there was a better answer for you, man. I catch Lakers on my lure all year long. Sometimes I just use the tail, and I'll even slide a tube over it. But that gives it a softer fall, so it doesn't dart down to the bottom. It just flutters down a little slower. And I might even downside the hook on just that tail. So I'm using a bait that's just about 3 inches long or something like that. But it's just the tail section of my lure. But you'll catch them all year. You just have to work it and try to just be willing to flex with it. Change it up a little bit. Show them different presentations and figure out what is working. Ultimately, I think toward the end of the year, so we're talking about December time period, I was going down to a very small paddle tail. So even I moved away from my lure because it's not what they preferred. You can still catch them with that, but I want to catch more, Wide, I think 45 feet is a good depth. It's where they hang out. But it's tough to mark them down there and target them down at that. It's just a difficult fish to target at Raystown Lake. For the most part, when you're catching walleye, it's going to be incidental catches. You're going to catch it while doing other stuff. When you're trolling live bait for striper, you're going to pick up a walleye. So you can go, the most lake trout you've caught in a day. I couldn't tell you. Well, that video I put up, I think I hooked 11 on camera, but I was just out for the afternoon. Honestly, I've never gone out and just tried to rack up numbers. It's just not the kind of fishing I do. Numbers is, I think numbers just happens. You know, it happens when you're steady about what you're doing. After you've caught, you know, your 10th fish with a technique, you know, even if you're bass fishing, if you pull in 10 bass, you had a great day on the water. It's like the law of diminishing return, I guess. And I think if I've accomplished what I want to accomplish that day, I call it. I know that takes that'll take some time. I've gone out before and I couldn't get enough. I just kept fishing. But as I get older and older, I fish more more for the enjoyment of it than I do for you know, the record. Yeah, Wyatt. It's a great suggestion from Eric. I do run charters up at Erie. If you guys don't know that, I'll bring that up. I'll show you real quick. My two major charters are, of course, at Lewistown Lake and then at Lake Erie as well. And if you want to catch walleye, Lake Erie really is the place to go. At Lake Erie, we're going to do a lot of trolling and a little bit of jigging, but it just works. So Lake Erie is prolific with walleye. There's a ton of walleye up there. And when you get on them, and I know how to get on them, so when you're on them, you can just stay on them and bring them in the boat. Our buddy, you remember the gentleman who made the knife for us? Bradley was up there, and at some point during the fishing trip, we're pulling fish in, and at some point Bradley just sat down and he looked at me, sweat coming off his face. He goes, I just need to sit down for a minute. He was pulling in, he was just busy about fishing. You know, he's busy putting fish in, netting fish, putting the downrigger out. It's just quick. It's a fast-paced fishing event whenever you go to Erie. So if you want to experience walleye fishing with numbers, you're probably looking at Lake Erie. If you're looking for the challenge of it, then Lewistown will definitely give you your challenge. Good suggestion, Eric. Thank you. Yeah. So Wyatt, you're asking if I think the cliffs would be a good spot for Lakers. Yeah, absolutely. They run there. I don't fish back there. I think right where the kids, you know, right where people jump off the cliffs, it goes straight down. I mean, it's very, very deep there. But you could certainly catch them in there. If they're down there, by all means, go over, scan, see if you're marking Lakers. And if you are marking them, jig on them. And my lure is pretty good down to about, you could probably push 150 feet. So I know it's very deep there, but you could probably jig my lure at 150 feet. So if they're down there, by all means, send a lure down and try to pull one up. Good questions, though. Good questions. Appreciate that, man. Oh, on Zane Weaver's event, the Veterans event on April 28th, I wanted to say this, guys. I mentioned you could do a donation to me, and I would use that toward a veteran to, like, take them fishing and stuff. I want to nix that. I want to cut that out. That's not going to be part of what I'm doing. But if you want to make a donation for the veterans that benefits them in some way, give it to Zane. Zane's going to be having the event at his place, and it's going to be some cost that he's going to accrue because of that. If nothing else, it's going to be the power, you know, just the electric to use. But making his services or his property available to us so we can get together and such, that accounts for something. So if you guys want to support the Veterans event, the gathering that we're doing on April 28th, Zane Weaver. So find his shop, go down there and buy bait from him, leave them a good tip or something, and say you want to put it towards the Veterans event that's coming up on April 28th. Whatever it is, reach out to Zane, give it to him, and he'll direct it for the veterans event. I'd appreciate if you guys would do that. Honestly, I just kind of want to have my hands off of it. You understand? I want to participate in the event. I don't necessarily want to be the one coordinating the details of it. You know what I mean? As much as I'm available to do that, I don't want to be the guy, because it's his property. Out of respect, I think I need to do that. I think you guys understand where I'm coming from. All right. Good. So we're here. If you guys haven't done a thumbs up, now's a great time to do it. I'm going to jump into my predictions. Now, usually, I just get on here and I say, okay, guys, this is the day you want to go for, and this is why, so good luck fishing. Let me talk about, first of all, before I jump into the moon cycles and such, is what we just had happen. We had some nice weather. And when we have some nice weather, it's very natural. People jump on their boats and they go running out into the water and they go fishing. So today's the 27th. We're right here. And what I'm looking at is behind us here. So we'll say the last 2 or 3 days, we had some really nice weather, right? It is great. You can tell I'm a biker. It brings up commercials for luggage on the Harley, saddlebags there. But for the last couple days, we had a couple nice clear days, real pleasant. You could probably go out in a sweatshirt and be comfortable. And so a lot of folks did that. And I don't know if you paid attention, but I certainly did. Very low success rates. Very low. So even though it's it's a picture perfect day, it's a great day to be out on the water, people went out and they struggled. Whereas if you went out, back 2 weeks ago, whenever I recommended a really good time, I think I said even Friday of last week was the day to shoot for, right? Which would have been the 23rd. Yeah, so let's start there. Let's look at the 23rd. So I was saying right here, I pay attention to the moon. So this is where I'm going to start. The moon was coming up at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and it was going to peak right around lunchtime. So the afternoon is probably the better time to shoot for, because the temperature of the day is going to warm up the surface water, plus the moon was going to be overhead, and everything was kind of in place. I think if I remember right, we had a good overcast, no rain, but we had overcast. And so our temperatures were starting to creep up a little bit. I think it was in around 50 degrees. And I think I recommended an afternoon to evening kind of put in. Go out and try during that block of time. And if you went, you probably achieved something. I saw a few pictures. It wasn't like it was gangbusters, but people were certainly catching. Now, fast forward now to today, the 27th. And what day was it that was really nice? What day was it that it was really nice here? I don't have it on here. I don't want to go back through history, but we'll say yesterday and the day before, right? So today is, what do I have this up for? So today's the 27th, so 26 and 25. Well, let me start at 24 then. We'll just kind of go through. 24 was the full moon. Yeah, so 24th was the full moon. Similar rise and fall of the moon, it's just about 30 minutes difference. And traditionally, the full moon is the bookend. So the fishing was good up to the full moon. And then after that, traditionally, it just kind of just dies off. And it's usually a hard drop too, like a switch gets thrown. And unfortunately, we had nice weather, which made people want to go fishing. But unfortunately, the switch was thrown because the fish don't care whether it's nice to us. It's not nice to them. So the full moon typically does switch them off, not always. But you see the moon distance here at 252,000 miles from the Earth. The gravitational pull of it, they don't feel the moon very much. Even though the weather was up, if you will, the temperature was up, the moon wasn't. So here we are, we're getting about an hour behind. The 25th is a little worse. And 26th is even worse. So what am I looking at here? I think I had this backwards, didn't I? So that's the morning. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So 11:16. It's around lunchtime. And on the 25th, the moon was coming up around 10 o'clock in the morning. 26th, the moon's coming up then around 10:30, 11. So it's shifting a little bit. Like every day the moon's moving a little bit. But those 3 days, I would say, immediately following a full moon are traditionally poor. And we have a long distance to the moon. And although the moon is rising at a reasonable time, like the middle of the day, I think we have the major input, I think, that shut it down there around the full moon. Did you guys go out and look at the full moon? When you go out and look at the full moon and it's big and it's bright, that's a bad sign. Not because the full moon is bright, but it's because you can see it, meaning there's no cloud cover. So we got a high pressure system, clear skies, and that high pressure system, they don't like that. It drives them down. I do think that the reason folks are associating a full bright moon with a bad bite is typically because they can see it. Full moons, when you can't see it and it's overcast, you got a full moon overhead, but it's heavy overcast, those are good fishing periods. But people don't talk about it being full moon then. They don't complain about it because they can't see the moon. Whereas on these clear, high-pressure days, moon overhead, but high pressure, there's no cloud cover. Now the bite's bad. And people blame it on the moon, but I don't think it's really the moon that they're frustrated with, but it's the high-pressure system. The high-pressure system is the system right against the Earth's surface. So, yes, the moon's going to have a positive influence on the fish, but it's trumped out by that high-pressure system. So when you get these high-pressure systems moving through, it is going to affect the fish bite in a very negative way. And I think that's what we were dealing with for those 3 days, if you will, immediately following the full moon. Blue skies, nice temperatures, but it's high pressure. It's high pressure. It's driving the fish down into deeper holds, and they're just a little more lethargic. They're less active. So let's look here moving forward. You guys can see the moon is falling here, right? So the moon is starting to drop again. We're getting this descent of the moon. So every rotation of the moon is getting a little bit closer to the surface of the moon. So the fish will feel that more as the moon, it's just like a magnet, right? So I'll do it like this. So as the moon goes past the Earth, if it gets closer, the magnetic pull against the tides, and the fish feel that. It'll affect them more the closer it is. Like two magnets, right? They're this far apart. There's no attraction. It's a little stronger. You get them real close, it's hard to keep them from clicking because of that magnetic attraction between the two of them. Same effect is going on for the fish. They feel it, and it turns them on. It actually amps the bite. So it's like there's a lot of things in the system, and everything moves in flux, and you got to take it all to a degree. You have to make room for all of it because it all matters, you know? So let's look at a prediction here. So what would I suggest? I do start with the weather first because I want to see a low pressure system. And so today is the 27th. Let's get this out of the way. Today's the 27th, so we have these couple days coming up right here. I think we're actually going to hold this low pressure system. You see how the rain and the clouds is kind of holding? We got these partly clear skies. I haven't looked at it hourly to hourly or anything, so I don't know whether to say it's morning or evening, but this is enough for me to see that we're going to have, generally speaking, overcast skies for the next 10 days. So I got overcast skies, and then I got temperatures, and what I'm looking for with temperatures is for them to hold steady. I don't mind if they're a little low. I don't care if they're in the 40s, the 50s, or the 60s. This time of year, I'm expecting all of that, but what I'm looking for is something steady. And what's catching my eye here is whenever it gets up to about 57, 62, 62, 60, and 60. So this stretch of time right here looks really good to me. That's Saturday through Wednesday, where things are holding real steady. Unfortunately, I'm seeing some rain peeking in and out there too, but not enough to keep me from wanting to fish. Maybe on Wednesday. It looks like it's 58%, but the other days it wouldn't keep me from fishing. I do fish in the rain. Yes, I did see the comment. I do fish in the rain. I typically try to avoid it if I can, though. So I got a 5-day stretch here from the 2nd through the 6th, and I want to look at them. So I'm going to bring up the moon and look at the 2nd through the 6th. How do I bring up next month's? There we go. It's all right at the bottom. What are we? February, March. Right there we go. So we're going to look at 2nd. Right here we are. So the 2nd through the 6th. So this is the period we're going to look at right here. I don't have moonrise and moon set just yet. This is unfortunate, I think. Yeah, so it looks like the moon's going to be coming up after midnight on the 2nd. And so we're dealing with what's called a moon underfoot. Underfoot. An underfoot is a bad thing. Imagine it's just the moon on the other side of the planet. So we'll get low tide on this side of the planet. That makes sense? So the pressure is less on this side of the planet than it is on the opposite side. And we're looking at a moon a moon rise. I'll go on to it around midnight or something like that. So we have on the 3rd, we have the 3rd quarter starting here. And again, late. So we got a moon underfoot for all of this. Moon underfoot. It's not going to change. What do we have here? 4 a.m. Real low rise. So the moon's going to be low on the horizon there. You see that? See how low it is? It's going to be in the sky for a very short amount of time. So here we are, the 5th. All right, so it looks like I'm looking at the 5th, and I'm looking at a morning bite on the 5th. That's what the moon's saying. We still need to look at the temperatures, right? So the 5th and the 6th, what was the 4th like? The 4th would do okay. It's not great, though. So on the 4th, that moon barely comes above the surface. So what I'm looking at right now is the 5th. Let me jump back over. So I'm doing this in real time. I'm just working it through with you. I think what I'm going to say is the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th are the best. 4th is, I'll give you 50-50. The 5th is the best day. And on the 6th, I think it tapers off again. So I'm going to say the 5th is the day to shoot for. That's a Tuesday. Tuesday, the 5th, is the day that I'm trying to suggest to you guys. Good evening, Michael. Welcome to the chat, man. So, Tuesday the 5th. There is rain predicted. However, it's not enough that would keep me from going on the water. It's saying we got, what was the chances here? 37% chance. And I'm going to recommend a morning bite on the 5th. The wind isn't bad. It's single digit, 5-6 miles per hour. And at Lewistown Lake, it's nice. We got the valley, so it breaks the wind. And the lake stays pretty calm. It says showers in the morning with some clearing in the afternoon. Okay, so if you're going out on Tuesday, you might get some showers in the morning. But it's going to be, the temperature is going to be up to 60 that day. So night before 48. So it'll be 50 to 60. So again, it's real steady temperatures, 50 to 60 degrees, and that is on Tuesday morning. It's a narrow window, guys. It's a narrow window. This time of year, it's kind of like that, isn't it? It's hit or miss. But these are some of the systems I look at, and hopefully you guys get an idea. So here's what I would suggest. What's that mean for you guys? You're thinking weekends, right? Because that's typically the time we get. Today's Tuesday, and I just gave you a prediction that was very bleak all the way up until the 4th. So between now and the 4th, I'm not expecting it to be like, it's not going to be gangbusters when you go out there. I don't think there's going to be a fire up stage. So if you're going on the water and you are as stubborn as I am and you're just going to go for sake of going, this is what I'm going to recommend. Every day there is a minor. We'll say a minor influence. And what I'm really talking about is everybody experiences the morning bite or the evening bite. It's a very narrow window, but for about an hour, the fish turn on. It's almost like they can't help themselves during those hours. They have to do something. And if you've experienced the top water bite first thing in the morning when you're casting for bass and they're just fired up and you're pulling them in and then it's just like a switch, it shuts off and nothing's feeding on top of the water. That's what I mean. They can't help themselves. It wasn't a great day to be out there fishing because the systems weren't right, but the morning, right at that crescent hour, crescent is right at dusk and right at dawn, right at those two periods of time, it forces them to get active. It's like it's ingrained in their DNA. You know what I mean? So if you're getting out over the weekend, really focus your effort and focus your discipline to be on the water an hour before that happens so that you're there when it pops. So it's going to be a narrow window for you to hit, but you can hit it. I don't think you're going to have a fired up day or anything like that, though. Don't expect so Jingo, don't expect to go out and catch 11 Lakers in the afternoon. It could happen. There's going to be one guy who goes out there and just figures it out and just slams them. I hope that's you, man. I hope that's you. I hope that's all of you. So we're running down the last bit of this chat, guys. If you have any questions based on what I just went over, send them in the chat. Now's a great time to talk about it. I want to do, I was afraid that I would run out of time here. So while you guys are thinking of a question, I kind of went a little bit longer there with that description than I wanted to. I've been trying to do shout outs for everybody, for the people that are in my crew, if you will, in my circle. If you have an item listed for sale or something like that, I'm trying to shout you out. But I've talked a lot about Mark from OnlyFins. He's got his own YouTube channel, and I want you guys to really support my pal. Mark has a bunch of videos from Lewistown Lake. He does a lot of kayak fishing. And guys, news, I just got a kayak. So I'm going to be doing kayaking material as well. And it's no small part due to this guy right here. So right here, this video right here, you see it's from Paddling and Bassin. That's the event we have every spring, and it's coming up in just a few weeks. Please attend it. I have a video on it. Mark has a video on it. So if you want to get an idea of what it is, right here he is. I would consider it a favor, a personal favor to me if you guys would go over to Mark's channel and sub to him. I appreciate if you would do that. It's OnlyFins, and you can just do @OnlyFins, and right there it is. And I'll tell you what I'll even do here. I'll copy that, and I'm going to put that right into the chat thing here. There you go. So you guys, if you would do me the favor, click on that, open it up, and sub to Mark right now. I would appreciate you guys if you would do that. Mark and I we've been longtime friends, and it's not slowing down. You're going to see his face a lot on my channel, and you'll see my face on his channel. So it's like additional content. It's more of what you're already, growing to love here and stuff. Hopefully, if you're here, I assume you guys like what I'm doing. And if you like what I'm doing, do the thumbs up for me. So that's my one shout out. I want to throw that in there for my pal. And I promised you guys, that I would do a rig and rod segment here for you. So I'm going to get into that in just a minute. I'm going to do a rig with you and talk about rods and reels for you. But give me just 1 minute. I want to answer the questions in the chat. Michael just asked, where's the walleye? Yep. Where are they, man? That's the great question. See, Lewistown Lake is like that. I talked a little bit about it, Mike. The walleye are prolific, man. Raystown Lake is a very healthy walleye fishery, yet we don't connect with them because they're difficult to connect with. If you're going to look for walleye, look for timber, and you're going to have to park on them. You're going to have to cast. Or you can go out whenever they're feeding at their peak, and that's usually in the middle of the night, which means you're going to put your boat in the water at 10 p.m. and fish through the night for them, depending on whenever they get active. And you'll probably have to do that a few days in a row till you figure something out to see when the bite is fired up. But use some of those techniques to kind of determine when moon's overhead, when the temperatures are steady, and just, the high pressure, low pressure thing. Just play that game and really watch for it. Thank you, Mike Bodine. Appreciate that, man. That's awesome. Thank you. So yeah, Michael, that's where they're at. They're right there. They are right there. Make no mistake, you are passing them all the time. They're under your feet every time you go for a ride. Yeah. Eric says it. He knows where they're at. The walleye are in Lake Erie. Book a charter with yours truly. I will take you up and show you all the walleye you can handle. And bird, the stripers, yeah, same thing. Same thing. The striper are just a bass. So there's minor differences, but they're still going to respond like a bass would. So don't overthink that. Don't overthink that. You can upsize your lures a little bit, but it's just like you're fishing for a large bass. I got a spool line here with me, and I decided to get my super bright, whatever, high vis line for you so that you guys can maybe see this a little bit better. And I'm going to show you a real simple rig, and I'll show you how to tie it. I usually just start it with an overhand knot on the bottom, and I get a loop. And this is just so that I can attach a sinker to it. So I'll run that through the sinker and wrap it around, and I can change the weights on it. But that's going to be on the bottom. And what I'll do is I'll strip out about 2 feet of line, loop it over. And this is the part that it actually gets a little bit complicated. You kind of have to use a couple fingers. It's helpful if you've got a little bit of dexterity here. But all I have is the line laid over itself. And then I'm just going to take these 2 top pieces and start twisting them around each other. Twist, 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 just like that. 4 or 5 times, something like that. And then that piece that's down on the bottom here, that's hanging down below, I want to reach through the loop, the little spiral circle that I just made, and grab that line underneath and pull it through. And everything's going to kind of flip and kind of pull through. And I'm just kind of snugging this down really sloppy like. It really got kinked up there. This might be a disaster, guys. This is very thick line. There we go. So what that's called is a T-knot. So it makes a T-knot. So whenever I'm hanging the sinker underneath it, I'll get this loop. Now this is really heavy gauge, so this is 50-pound mono. But what you want is this loop that hangs off to the side. Right there. And so what you'll do is you'll attach your hook to it. And again, you can do the same thing. You just pinch that, put it through the eyelet of the hook, and then over top the hook, and just cinch it tight. And then you can change out your hook size too. I'm using this 50-pound test that I'm using here. You guys probably won't use this if you're doing this rig. I'm just using it because it's larger diameter and you can see it. But if you're doing this with for like perch, you would just use like 8-pound test. I think that's what I use for perch, is 8-pound test. And then you just strip off another 2 feet. And I'm going to tie it once more so you guys get a little bit of repetitive here. All right. So there we go. We got our little loop. And I'm just going to do the little dexterity thing here. I'm going to dance it up, over, like that. Twist it a few times. And then reach down and pull that piece through. And it's just called a T-knot. And Some of you guys can do this a lot more smoothly than I can. This is like a monkey in a football right now. There we go. We got a nice T-knot. And it's good to wet that knot too so you don't burn the line. And you get a second loop up here. And up on this end all the way up, you can just snip it off. And this is typically what I do because I'll make a couple of these up. So I just have them waiting. And I'll tie a swivel onto that tag end so that I can just clip it on and clip it off. And then that's the swivel attached up toward your rod. That's the first loop. The second loop. And then down here is the sinker. This is if you guys fish down at saltwater at all, this is just called a high-low rig. And it should be very familiar. And what it's going to do is it's going to hold that bait off to the side. So whenever it's holding down, your hook is essentially going to hang off to the side. It's going to hold out away from the line. It's going to present your minnow or your jig, whatever it is you're using. It's going to hold it off to the side. I like to use minnows for this. And you can amp this up a little bit and make it especially special, if that's a thing, by cutting one end of that loop. And now you can just tie, instead of like doing the loop through thing that I was talking about, you can just tie a hook on there however you want to do it. With a uni knot or something. But now you just have one line off to the side. It's a little bit more finesse presentation. It's a little bit more subtle. The minnow looks, it's got less things hanging there. So that's the high-low rig. You guys can practice that. It's super simple to do. You can tie that on the spot. You guys saw that I just did it in real time with a big, fat monofilament line. So you guys can certainly do it with something with a little bit more dexterity. Yeah, Brock's saying hold the loop with your teeth. Hold down tension on it. It'll pull down smoother. Yeah, so I was talking. I think that was it. And there's so what I typically do is whenever I'm cinching it tight is I'll actually set it on my tongue and I'll just pull it there and just kind of snug it and take my time with it. I don't want to burn the knot and I want it to have a good dress. Whenever it cinches shut, you want the dress really well. But yeah, Brock, good advice. Thank you. Very good. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate you guys subbing to my pal. I appreciate that. So we have just a few more minutes, and before I lose you guys here, I want to do this. I have been getting a lot of people stopping by on my following my Amazon affiliate links. They're right below, so they're right down in the description section of this video. If you click on the fishing rods, it's going to bring you to these ugly stick striper rods, and they look like this. They got the little striper thing on them. And the one that I'm using right now is, the one that I prefer right now is the medium light. And there's a reason for that. You can get this in whatever size you think you want, but I'm using the medium light for something really specific here. It's because I'm trying to use these for downriggers, planer boards, and for live bait. So I wanted a softer tip. So the medium light gives me a little bit more versatility. So if those techniques are what you're going to use this rod for, this is the one to get. The medium light is the one. These are 7.5 foot long rods, and here's a look at the eyelets, but you guys can follow the link down below, and you guys can check these out. I'd actually appreciate it if you do that. Whenever the video's done, just shoot over and check them out. And if you do a purchase there, they'll send me a small commission. It doesn't cost you anything. It just helps me out. But the link is right below to make sure you get to the right fishing rod. And I've also done it for, what do I have here? I want to show you the rod, or the reel rather. The Okuma cold water reels right now are as low as I've seen them in a year. So if you guys are in the shop, if you're thinking about getting a reel, this is the one I use. It's very important you get the low profile, the LP version of this. And you can get left hand or right hand. I use left hand, but make sure it's the low profile reel. I use this one when we go bassing too. So it casts and it jigs. This is what I'm using on my jigging reels. And this will handle everything at Raystown Lake. That reel will handle it. But again, the link is just right down below if you guys want to check this out in great detail. Okuma makes it. It's called the Cold Water, and I am using the left-hand reel on it. It's got the line counter on it, which is really helpful for putting boards out, long lining, down lining, or jigging. And it's, of course, got a nice brake on it, and it's just a thumb whenever you're casting. So it really does work. It works for a lot of stuff. So it's universal. As far as what I needed to do, it covers a lot of ground. And if you guys are doing the kind of fishing that I'm doing, I think it'll work really well for you as well. But those are linked right below the video that you're watching right now. So I appreciate if you guys would follow that. And if you do any purchases within 24 hours, they'll send me a small commission. It doesn't even have to be fishing related stuff. I think I had some candles purchased here about 2 weeks ago, and I made some money from that. So thank you to who is following those links. That helps me out. It's barely anything, guys. I think I've made a total of $10 on Amazon affiliates. So it's not much. I'm not getting rich off it, but it's starting. There's something there. So thank you guys for that. Appreciate it. Those are the rods. Those are the reels. Those are the high-low rigs. Guys, I think we covered a lot in this live stream. If this is the kind of content you guys want, you know what to do. Do the thumbs up and make sure you're subbed. I'm going to try, whenever I do these live streams over the winter here next year, I'm going to really put together a block of, what's it called? Education that's entertaining and educational, right? It's Jim Henson attitude, right? So I'm going to do my best to try and make this entertaining and full of information that you can use on the water. But if you guys have some ideas or something, just shoot them at me. If you want to hear about whatever it is, I'm going to share. I am here to help you catch fish. I hope you see that by now. I'm on your side. So let's learn how to fish this lake together. So I'm going to stream for another 5 minutes, guys. If you have any questions, throw them up in the chat. This is kind of the downhill slide of it. I just want to thank you guys so much for being here. It means a lot. It means so much. I've sat here watching, there's about 20 people who've come and gone in the chat, and it's amazing for a channel my size to get that many people to hang out and talk for an hour, and I really appreciate that interaction. I know that I'm blessed, and that's not because of anything I'm doing. It's all you guys. Thank you. So let me, while we're kind of hanging out here just for the last second, let me replug Fishin' and Grillin'. It's March 28th to the 31st. And I, of course, want to plug my old pal, Mark. Go watch this video right here, Paddling and Bassin' 2023. It's from last spring, and we had a blast with it. So go ahead and watch it. He's a great videographer. Just check him out. I think you'll be glad you did. And you guys can attend that one coming up next spring as well. I'm really excited about the whole kayaking thing coming too. Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate it, man. Nice. Mark's going to be really happy. He's going to click onto his channel. I don't know what he was at here. When I brought up his 424. Let's see what he's at. Well, here, I'll bring you guys along for the journey. So I don't think I've refreshed this since I've been doing the live stream. So right now it's reading at 424. So let's see what it says now. Yes, look at that. We got him all the way up to 430, guys. Nice. That's a huge bump in his channel. Thank you. That's awesome. I'm going to tell Mark about that. He's going to be tickled, man. He'll be really excited about that. That's great, man. Look what you guys did already. Making a man's day. I'll tell you, that's awesome stuff, guys. That's love. That's the Raystown community. That's why we're here, man. Love that. Love that. I got chill bumps, man. For real. I love that. Thank you, Hal. Thank you so much. Oh, my gosh. It's great. It's great. All right. Sounds like we don't have any other questions, so I'm going to say good night to you. I've got a roast that we put in, so I'm anxious to get out and have a little stew and just hang out and chill for the rest of the night. So thank you guys so much for coming to these. Next Tuesday is the last live stream. I got to go to Florida for a couple weeks, so it kind of snuck up on me. But next week, next Tuesday, is the last live stream until Fishin' and Grillin'. I might jump on an additional time, so we might have 2 more. But next week is the last scheduled live stream. Thank you guys so much for the support, for being here. You rock. I appreciate it. Follow the links below. Go check out Mark's channel. That's all I got. Good night, guys. Much love and much respect. We'll see you out on the water, huh? Good night.